Working towards great health in the life of your dreams may be challenging at times, but I can assure you it's worth every effort you could possibly put into it. I'm Dr. Joel Feeman, and we've been talking about different habits and developing good habits rather than bad habits because these can affect every aspect of your life. Specifically, today I want to talk with you about evening routines. You see, it all really comes back down to establishing, as we talked about initially, having those concrete goals. Now, in life does of course happen, as you know and have surely experienced, but to have these goals keeps you focused and keeps your consciousness on the path ahead. It's almost like having a map that takes you to the vacation or destination of your dreams. It's giving you basically the direction. All these hiccups may occur from time to time, these detours if you will. If you at least know where you're going, you can kind of wander around a little bit if you need to, but in the same sense, you're gonna at least reach your goal. You're gonna reach that destination versus having no destination point and you're just kind of jumping in the car or getting on a plane or a boat and just setting forth but not knowing for sure where you're going. So I assure you that the most successful people, one of the things, the qualities that they have is the fact that they establish the vision that they have for their life. They have goals, both long-term and short-term goals, and then each day they have certain patterns and habits that they put into motion to assure themselves that they're on the right track. One of the main things to always keep in mind is the big picture. It's so vital that although we're going to have distractions from time to time, that we stay focused on the big picture at all times regardless. I have a question for you though. I mentioned that I was going to talk with you briefly about having evening routines. The question I have for you though is, do you believe that an evening routine can help you or hinder you from reaching the goals and the desires, the dreams that you have for your life? And if you answered yes, they can affect you, then you're right on. And so what I'd like to do before I get into maybe giving you a couple helpful tips and tricks of what you can do to establish a good evening routine, I want to first talk about how it affects your health and the bigger picture of your life in general. The main thing here is it has to do with longevity. You know, time after time, we'll see people who have worked hard all throughout their life. They have these goals, and maybe they're not specific, but they have this idea that, well, if I could just work hard, save a little money, I can retire, and that's when I can start enjoying life. Now, that mentality, of course, is common, but they put their time to enjoy their life at the end of their career instead of all during their life in many cases. But all too often, not only is that problematic, but then many of these people have sacrificed their health and their relationships, for the sake of getting there. And then once they're there, they can't do the things that they really had in their heart to do in the first place. The reason I bring that up is because I want to talk about the process of aging and how stress in life can affect that. But it's not only important to understand how stress can affect how fast or so you age, but also to recognize why these certain tips and tricks, these evening routines, can be super helpful and instrumental in helping you to establish your goals, not just the little things along the ways, but once again, the big picture. You see, like it or not, and although this may be difficult for some, the studies have been clear that to have great health and longevity, they have found that people who have between 7 to 9 hours of restful sleep each night tend to do the best. Interestingly, Dr. Elizabeth Blackburn, in her book, The Telomere Effect, shows how insufficient sleep, along with chronic stresses of life, poor health habits, lack of exercise, among other things, has literally been shown to shorten the telomeres of the cell's chromosomes. The thing to note there is the fact that what they found is the longer your telomeres, the longer your lifespan is and the better health you have in general. So when you have all these things with insufficient sleep and stress and the things I just mentioned, it literally can shorten your lifespan and increase the process of how fast your body is aging. The reason, once again, I bring this up is we're thinking big picture. So we want to make sure that our goals and our health, physically, mentally, and spiritually, are all on track to where that way when you establish your goals of a certain life that you desire, that you understand how important each of these little things that you are doing takes and how it creates the life of your dreams. Okay, so in order to establish some good, simple routines for the evening time, it's first important, although this may not be for everybody, it is for the people who are serious about their health and serious about achieving the life of their dreams. And part of the simple exercise I'm going to explain to you, it's not hard at all. It starts off with maybe 20 minutes, and the more you do it in practice, the more you can hone it in and get it down to maybe even 12 or 10 minutes for that matter. But the point is that it's about recognizing how stress affects your body to be able to get your body into a stress-free, or at least limit that as much as possible, while also engaging the consciousness of the mind on the things that you're desiring to manifest in your life through visualization techniques. Now, in terms of visualization techniques, that's for a whole nother teaching, but I at least want to get you started with the right direction. And the main thing is that we want to make sure that during this time of rest even, you're preparing your body for rest, decreasing your stress, so your restfulness overall is good. So when you wake up, you are energized and ready to take on the day. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to each evening, and this is my challenge to you, is to first and foremost dedicate 20 minutes. Find a quiet place where you won't be interrupted. Then you don't have to necessarily, light candles and things like that. Although if you find that that helps you, to get into that relaxed state, do whatever it takes. But the main thing is that you can basically just sit upright, you can cross your legs on the floor, get comfortable. The next step would be to just simply start breathing deeply. And as you breathe deeply, focus your attention on your breath while trying to block out the distractions that are potentially all around you, the various sounds and noises and things of that nature. Then, once you're focused on your breathing, now it's time to then just put some attention on the sounds around you. Don't judge them as being good or bad, but just recognize that they're there. Once you've done that for a couple minutes, then focus your attention back on your breathing. Now, this is not only obviously helping you to oxygenate your body for better health overall, but it's also training you how to shift your breathing and also your focus, because we live in a society now that our attention span is very little. And so it's all about teaching you how to focus at this particular point. Okay, so now that you've focused on your breathing, then sounds, back to breathing, and now you're learning how to become focused on your breathing. Now what I want you to do over the next course of time is I want you to start to think of things for today that you're thankful for. And so just think of whatever circumstances you can, just 3 things, and put some focused, detailed energy on how you just have a heart of gratitude for 3 things that happened today. The next thing I want you to do is I want you to visualize 3 things that would make tomorrow, the next day, a great day. What would happen, or what if you had total control in your day, what would you want to happen in the next day that would bring you great joy and great satisfaction and that feeling of accomplishment? The next thing would be then to focus on things that you're thankful for regarding your family, things about your health that you're thankful for, and then also your finances. Now realize this can take a few moments as you engage in this process, as you're breathing, you have your eyes closed and you're thinking about how thoughtful you are for your spouse and your kids and your health and where you are financially and all these different things. But then it's time to also start to transition into your long-term goals. What do you want to happen long-term in 20 years from now? So for illustration purposes, maybe you're thinking that in 20 years from now, you already will have been retired for maybe 5 years. So if you were planning on traveling, maybe you're going to Europe or laying on the beach somewhere, whatever the case may be. Maybe it's just playing with your grandkids in the backyard. Feel the way that you would feel in that circumstance. In other words, what is it about that goal, that dream that made you write that down on paper, that made you work towards that? Why is it worth right now you taking the time to think about those things? So maybe it's about walking your daughter down the aisle. How would that make you feel as you close your eyes and you can feel her arm against yours and you're walking her down the aisle for those men? Or maybe it's playing with your grandkids. You're in great health. Visualize what it feels like to be able to play with your kids or your grandkids for that matter, whatever the case may be. Maybe it's about hiking through the mountains when you're 70 years old. What kind of energy do you feel that you need at that particular point to be able to enjoy that at a high level? What health, what finances, what relationships, what does it have to look like? What does it feel like? And when you put your focus on your breathing, but then also on how you want this thing to play out, by doing this on the regular basis, you've now stepped into a whole nother realm, because now what you're doing is you're programming your conscious and your subconscious mind to be able to prepare for the future. And as we talked about in several times, it doesn't mean that everything's going to go perfectly as we go through life. Things will come up. But in the same sense, the more we do these different exercises, the more we position ourselves in a way that we're no longer looking at problems or challenges, but we're seeking the solutions, because now we have the roadmap, so to speak. We know what the destination is. Now it's just a matter of going through the detours, the hoops, and the things that happen in life in order to stay focused on those particular goals and dreams and desires that you have have within your heart. You got to always remember that if those things were precious enough for you to write down on paper, then they're precious enough for you to also work towards. Then, once you've spent just a few moments on thinking about your long-term goals and all that we just mentioned, then focus on your short-term goals. What did you do today? That was helpful and impactful on helping you work towards the long term, but by accomplishing the short-term goals. What perhaps got in your way? Why did it get in your way? What's maybe a better way to avoid that in the future so it doesn't happen again? You see, the big thing is that these are all steps. They're just steps in life. They're different levels. And the more we start to do these things and apply these, once again, the behavior patterns of some of the most highly achieving, successful people in the world is it comes down to the discipline. And much of that discipline has to do with the mind, the thinking patterns, the words that we speak, but then also having the routines and habits that support the vision that we have for our lives. You see, it's important to realize that many of the people who have it rough, so to speak, where they don't really accomplish, and when they get to their end of their life and they have too many regrets, it's because they spent too much time perhaps doing things that they felt were important in the moment, but they never had those clear-cut goals long term, and so there was always something that happened that took them off course. And then next thing you know, they find themselves watching mindless TV or on social media and doing things that really didn't matter. Your life matters. The goals that you have for your life, they matter. And so do whatever you can to make sure that you start an evening routine to be able to take that time and focus on your breathing, go through the steps that I just went through with you. And although that's just one of many ways that you can start to apply, the main thing is that you start applying something to work in that right direction. Again, I'm Dr. Joel Feeman, here to help empower you with truth and knowledge so you can not only achieve the greatest, most amazing life possible, but you can also be a sower of life into the people that you love and care about the most, that you can be instrumental in impacting their life as well as your own. Until next time, God bless.